What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening. How y'all doing? First of all, let me say I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Skip Bayless told me to tell y'all hello. He does that just to irritate me because he knows that I don't like mentioning his name after Fridays. I have to deal with his nonsense enough 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I don't think a human being should be subjected to that level of... But we all have to do what we have to do. Listen, whenever I go to college campuses, which is something that I love to do, I made it a mission of mine a long, long time ago. When I was a student, that if I was ever as successful as I had aspired to be at that particular time, I always looked forward to coming back and speaking to college students, because I know y'all think y'all know a lot. That reminds me of Skip. But the things that you don't know are very glaring and very flagrant. And it's not because you're ignorant as if you don't know. It's because you don't know the world that awaits you simply because you haven't been in it yet. You haven't been in a position where you have to deal with it yet. So if you notice, outside of the fact that I'm looking pretty smooth today, I don't have a speech. I don't write things down and read off a piece of paper, because I know what I want to say, and I know that it comes from here. So what I'm going to say to you tonight is going to be from the heart. It's going to be real. It's not going to all be pleasant, and you're going to have to get over it. That is just the way that it goes. It is Black History Month, and it is a celebration of our history. And there's an abundance of people throughout our history that are worthy of being celebrated. Names that you may not care to know, like Frederick Douglass, to names that you definitely do know, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and so many in between, before and after, to be quite honest with you. And when we think about educators, particularly as it pertains to African Americans in this country, one of the things that I never ever do, even if I'm talking to an audience full of black people, is limit my message to just them, meaning us. And I say us because I'm black, and I was one of those young black dudes sitting in the audience just like I see some of y'all here today. You don't shred yourself from your own personal experiences and act like you're separate and apart from it. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. I got a message for black folks, I got a message for white folks, I got a message for anybody in America dealing in the world of corporate America or aspiring to do just that. It's unavoidable. And there are a lot of things that you need to know. You need to understand, first and foremost, that in this day and age, no matter what your culture is, what your ethnicity is, what your accomplishments are in the world of college education, y'all in a world of trouble. I'm going to say it again. You're in a world of trouble. One of the things that I try to do constantly is pay attention to what's going on in the world. As much as the world is your oyster and it's at your feet and it's there to be had in terms of what you aspire for, what you want to accomplish, whatever the case may be, it's dog eat dog out there. And you had better be in school getting yourself prepped and ready to handle the business necessary in order to be successful. Or you're not going to only just get passed by, you're going to get stomped on and walked over. And by the way, I can bring plenty of white folks here that will give you the same exact message because it's happening to them. Which is why this message about blackness, about the plight, about the trials and tribulations that African Americans in this country have to go through. Trust me when I tell you, it is no longer limited to just us. You've got 6.6% of unemployment in this country right now. It's a 5-year low. It's a cause for celebration. To a lot of people in America, considering what we went through over the last several years. the whole housing crisis and the economic bubble bursting, all of this other stuff that just rakes my last nerves. But it's not an accident, nor a coincidence, nor something to be ignored that unemployment in this country for the African American community is 12.1%, nearly double. One of the things this nation has proven over time is that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And you know why they say that? Do you know why that adage is out there? Because the weakest link in the world makes sure to contaminate everybody else. Who's ever suffering is not going to sit idly by, stand on the side, be all alone, mired in their misery, and leave you to live in affluence and joy and jubilation. It does not work that way. And if there was ever a time when that moment exists, it is right now. Because you have a lot of people out there who are suffering. We can talk about numbers all we want to. The money that's out there to be made ain't there to be made by everybody the way that it once was. The advent of the technology age has infiltrated the American society and the fabric of this country to such a degree that even though you have some people being employed, you also have a significant amount of people who ain't qualified. If you ain't qualified, you can't make money. If you can't make money, you're broke. If you are broke, you are a problem. Because you're going to see to it that you cause problems for other people. It's the real world. It's something that you have to accept. It's something that you have to be motivated to conquer. And you've got to be ready for the world that exists. I'm Stephen A. Smith. I work for ESPN. Life is beautiful for me. I'm talking about y'all. I am doing just fine. I mean, those games I go to all the time for free. The car that I drive, the 5-star hotel I stay in, for free. I'm good. But one of the reasons that I'm so good, and I truly believe this in my heart, is because I know that I'm not. I take nothing for granted. I don't rest on my laurels. I did tell y'all I thought I was looking good tonight, right? I could look better. I think the black tie would have worked better, but I lost it. So I had to come up with something. But you know, the things that you do, what you wear, how you carry yourself, what you believe, what you espouse, what you stand for, what you disseminate to the masses counts. Because it's what you are judged by. It amazes me. We can have an abundance of dreams, an abundance of themes, rather. It's a leadership theme. It's celebrating black culture. All of these different things. But in the end, everything comes back to what I'm saying to you right now. Because what is there to celebrate if all you're celebrating is the past, but the present ain't good and the future looks bleak? What the hell is the celebration about? We got a lot to celebrate. As a culture, we have a lot to celebrate as a society. Black folks have come a long way. America has come a long way. But we've hit a pothole. We're in a little bit of trouble unless we wake up and recognize what's going on and how to handle it. And we're depending on you, the young minds in this country, to rescue us from what ails us. Because some of y'all have lost your damn mind. You just haven't gotten it. You walk around, you think you can look any way you want to look. You can act any way you want to act. You can do whatever it is that you want to do, thinking that the consequences, number one, will be limited, and number two, the suffering won't last but so long. What you have to understand something is that while you have the world at your feet, now more so than ever before, little mistakes can ultimately balloon to big ones. And if you make the wrong one, even at your age, it can wreck your life. The advantage that black folks have over a lot of folks in society is that because of the plights that we have experienced as a community, as a nation, we know that. You see, I know when I make a mistake, it can cost me. You see me on TV. Come on, y'all, it ain't just Skip that get on my damn nerves. You see some people up there that, they tempt me to say some stuff now. A couple of them tempt me to want to meet them outside. But we can't do that. We live in a different world. We heard a story about Michael Sam just the other day. He comes out. He announces that he's gay. Listen, I have no problem. I'm a proponent of gay rights. I'm a proponent of a woman's rights to choose. I'm not trying to get political here, but I just don't sweat that kind of stuff. To me, live and let live. That's me. But everybody's not me. There are some people that's going to have a problem with that brother. There are some people that have a problem with him now. Who knows what he's going to have to deal with? You ain't hear any of them say it on TV. Oh, basically, hey. We wish him well. There's nothing wrong. You live your life, you live ours, everything's great. You know good and damn well there's a few people that got a problem with that brother. I'm not one of them. But if I was, you wouldn't know. Because I understand the world that we live in. You've got a guy, Jonathan Moore, playing for the Miami Dolphins. He's 315 pounds. And we're having a conversation about him being bullied. Really? The world has changed. The world has changed. But as you sit here and laugh, and I don't blame you for doing so, take time to pause, take a deep breath, inhale, and ask yourself, what does that have to do with you? Because even though you're young, you ain't dumb. Pay attention. Tolerance is the code of the day and of this generation. Why? Because a level of intolerance to anything that we were unfamiliar with, to anything that was different, to anything that made us uncomfortable for decades was allowed to sift through this nation like a virus. That is no longer the case. And the relevancy of it all to this conversation that I'm having with you right now is because it affects and can affect your future opportunities. It's no longer you missing out on an opportunity or losing an opportunity that you once had because you're incompetent or because you're lazy. Now you can be competent. You can be one of the hardest workers. You can be one of the most productive people. You make one mistake and it costs you everything. And do you know why that is? Because along the way, you're so busy trying to be successful so you can get paid that you didn't even understand the importance of the word value. See, I'm a popular dude. People know me. I didn't say that was a good thing. Damn it, people knowing me sometimes gets on my last nerves. I don't appreciate the fact when I'm at the movies that people got to tweet about it. Or when I'm out and I'm taking my mama out to dinner, some dude gets ready to get knocked upside his head by yours truly because he thinks that's a perfect time to try to sit down and get on my nerves while I'm with my mama. Now, even though I'm not married, at the same time, me being a single dude, that doesn't mean I don't like my privacy. Who said if I went out to the movies, I want somebody to know that I was out to the movies? who said that that would not compromise me. These are the kind of things that nobody thinks about. Nobody cares. Life is very invasive. This is where Stephen was. Here's where he was at. Look at the Twitter picture. Life is very invasive. It's a pain in the neck. Your privacy is over. And if anybody failed to know that, I guarantee you Ray Rice will know. As an aside, people, you know, the obvious needs to be said. You don't put your hands on a woman. You do not strike a woman. Let me correct myself on that. Because there's nothing wrong, ladies, with a man putting his hands on you to grab you from beating him up. Now, hold your back from get punched in his face or stabbed or something. No. There's nothing wrong with you saying, could you calm down? But that's about it. You don't strike a woman. It's weak, it's pathetic, you don't do it. But let me say this to you. In the event that you're Ray Rice, and let's say the hypothetical happened and you didn't strike her, who believes that? You know, if you didn't strike her, video of you dragging her out of the elevator like she's a piece of luggage doesn't help your case. Even if you hadn't hit her. And I'm not saying he did it because I don't know. They're just saying that the reports say this video that he hit her. That's the only reason I brought that up. My point to you is that the world that we live in, that young man who has never had a blemish on his record character-wise has now been stained for the rest of his career. No matter where Ray Rice goes, no matter when his name's brought up, no matter by whom it's brought up by, it doesn't matter. Because there's video. Just like that. It's all it takes. That's the world we live in. That's my aside. Back to the subject at hand. You have to be careful about the things you do. You have to be careful about how you act. You have to be diligent in pursuit of excellence, particularly and especially if you are black, because the odds are stacked against you. Got a black president, got unemployment rate nearly double that in the black community than what it is anywhere else. That's a problem. And what it's showing you that, you know what, I'm not going to accuse our president of not caring. I'm simply going to say that it highlights and showcases the challenges that we face. But what black Americans have to understand and appreciate and accept is that other ethnic groups have their issues too. This is not the 50s. This is not the 60s. White folks don't owe us decency, respect, equal opportunity. That is all you are owed. And you know the number one reason why white folks don't owe us anything? Because a lot of them are suffering too. And when you've got your own problems, why do you have time to worry about anybody else? And one of the other things we have to be honest and straightforward about is sometimes it's not about race. Sometimes it's about somebody simply not liking you. I got news for you. There are some of you in here that don't like each other. I'm quite sure if I was around y'all enough, there's some of you in here I would not like. I damn sure know you wouldn't like me. And so what? That's life. But sometimes that impedes your progress. It gets in the way of opportunities. You have to be sensitive to it. You have to be armed and qualified to overcome it. And how do you do that? How do you enjoy success? If you're an African American, how do you enjoy the success that others have set the stage for you in the past? If you're white, if you're Asian, if you're Jewish, if you're Hispanic, if you're Native American, how do you achieve success in the world today? There's several ways. Number one, even in this internet and technology age that we live in, don't ever think that you can get away with avoiding communicating with the masses. You don't get to sit at home on your computer, not communicate with anybody, and think that you're going to achieve success, because success is usually facilitated by somebody else. If you ain't communicating, nobody knows you. If no one knows you, nobody cares about you. If nobody cares about you, how are you going to achieve anything? You got to communicate. You can't be a recluse. You can't think that your best friend is your laptop. It can't happen. And you got to expect to achieve success. It will not happen. 99.9% of the time, it will not happen. Now, I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that's such a geek, computer-wise, that is so off the charts that NASA or somebody's looking for them. And then you know what? They can achieve some success. But by and large, everybody in this room, if you are not ingratiating yourself with others in a position to facilitate your success, if you are not elevating your communicative skills, then you're going to be lost. That's point number one. Point number two. Stop pointing the finger at other people. You black, stop pointing the race. You white, stop pointing the affirmative action. You anybody in between, figure it out. The reason I say that is because it's important that you know that corporate America doesn't care. It has no compassion. It has no mercy. You are irrelevant. Only what you can do makes you relevant. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I talked about popularity versus value. I can be a popular person. That popular person lost my job at ESPN years ago. When I got into a contract dispute, who the hell does he think he is? He can go. But I came back with a vengeance. I'm larger than ever. And now what you've got is a situation where value has been established. Because you know the difference between popularity and value? Popularity is when you're known. Value is when you're identified as somebody who can make money for others. See the difference? Every day that you're in class, you're taking your tests, you're taking your exams, you're studying, you're aspiring to be whatever it is that you want to be, you've got to think about how you can become valuable. How can I make money for somebody else? Because if I can make money for somebody else, I can make money for me. That's how you got to think. Which brings me to my third point. When you walk in, whether it's to your professor, whether it's to a future employer, the number one objective that you should have should be, what can I do for you? Because nobody in a position of authority wants to hear complaining. See, complaints are devoid of solutions. That's just somebody venting. Now I got a problem, I don't like him. He really gets on my nerves. I'm trying to do the best that I can, and she's just breaking my, I just can't stand. Nobody wants to hear that. That's just that's noise. When you have an issue, when you aspire to be something or somebody, and there are roadblocks that are in your way, if you've identified an individual or individuals who can resolve your issues, you have to come to them with the solution that benefits them. Because if you don't do that, you are a whiner, you are a complainer. And that's indiscriminate. We don't sit there and go like this. It's a white complaint. It's a black complaint. Now, you're a complainer. You're a liability. These are the kind of things that you don't get talked about enough in classrooms. Am I lying? These are the kind of things that get in the way of your money. And I believe in making money. See, See, I'm a proud capitalist, y'all. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I don't give a damn about any of that. I don't trust any of them anyway. I believe in getting paid. It's the American way. No harm, no foul. Y'all walking around here getting a college education and then going out there. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to name professions because I don't want anybody up in here getting mad if I say the wrong thing. But if you pay $100,000 for your college education and you get a job making $15,000 a year, you got a problem. I don't think like that. My education cost me $100,000, I'm trying to make $1 million. I got bills for $1 million, I'm trying to make 10. I like my life. Did I tell you about that? Did I tell you about that? You know, I don't live in a mansion. The house is chill though. Got a movie theater in the basement. You know, I'm chilling. You know, I ain't driving the subway. My rides are nice, as in plural, yes. I like my life. I sat in those seats, right where y'all sit. And I thought about what I wanted. And I said, will I ever get this? Well, I got it. And then some. But see, I'm greedy. Because I love success. Which brings me to another point. Because you have to make the decision right here, right now, that you have no desire for a job. You don't want a job. You want a career. A job is doing what you got to do to pay your bills and to obtain or to maintain your quality of life. A career is doing what you want to do, and it just so happens to do the same plus more. See, when you have a career, it's doing what you want to do. And the reason why you're successful with the career is because not only are you doing what you want to do, but it doesn't feel like work. If it doesn't feel like work, then you ain't waking up complaining. The alarm clock goes up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Damn. All right, take me an hour to get to work, 8 hours, hour to get back. All right, I got 11 hours from now before I'm back. You done before you even started because you're counting the hours. Those 11 hours feel like 100. That's a job. When you have a career, you don't think about that. You just do what you do. And you don't rest until the job is finished because you love what you do and you want to be successful at it. These are the habits that you need to be developing. And one of the things that the black community has to recognize, the white community has done very successfully, is positioning themselves to have careers. See, a lot of times we want to chase that money. We want to get that money. That's a great, great thing. But you got to make sure that in the process of doing so, you're doing what you want to do. When we look at the world of professional sports, which I cover, they're playing a game. They're accumulating wealth. They're having a ball doing so. But have you noticed what's been transpiring lately? LeBron is a brand in the business. Kobe is a brand in the business. Durant is becoming more and more of a brand and a business. The same thing with Melo. The same thing with Derrick Rose. Russell Westbrook. Lord knows it doesn't need to be with his wardrobe, but he's becoming a business. The list goes on and on. But while you watch all of that, you also have to marvel at a Peyton Manning, at a Tom Brady. Because what have they done? They've been elite at their respective sport, this past Super Bowl notwithstanding, which I'm still disgusted by. And what they've done is they've used their excellence on the field to branch out. But they did so by doing what? Showcasing the other assets they had. You watch Peyton Manning. If you watched him on Saturday Night Live, you can't believe how funny he is. You look at Tom Brady. Yeah, he married Giselle. It's a power move. But I mean, has his Has it not upgraded significantly? Have you seen Tom Brady and the wardrobe he rocks? I mean, talk about marrying well. I mean, he's done it. All of these different things, I'm sorry to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to think about it. I'm not telling you you marry somebody because of nonsense like that. I'm simply saying the assets that people have, your friends, your advisors, your mentors, your family, etc. It's there for you to be utilized. It's for you to utilize it. You got a sister that's smart as hell, use her. You got a friend that's dumb, get rid of them. You got to surround yourself with the right people. They have to be an asset, because everything in life is identified as an asset or a liability. Whether it's physically, emotionally, morally, spiritually, it doesn't matter. Everything is a liability or an asset. Somebody is either in your life giving you something, or they are taking it away. It is a fact. To act like it doesn't apply to every living thing that you do is nonsense. You got to know better. You can't have friends around you. They know you got to work tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and they got you out partying at 3. Get rid of them. Somehow, some way, they in your dorm room, they always eat your food. They got to go. They got to go. Can't have that. Knowing you got to study, they got you out partying. Those are not people that care about what's in your best interest. Those are people who care about what is in their best interest. You got to identify them. You got to weed them out. You got to get that. Because times are hard. And to the victor goes the spoils. Everybody ain't entitled to it. Black folks have achieved so much. We're a very, very proud people. We're far more accomplished than anybody has truly recognized from an historical perspective. We've come so far, although we have far to go. Our problems have never been our intelligence. It's never been our work ethic. What we have to remember, as black folks in here, is that one of the biggest impediments to our success has been our emotions. Because when you endure trials and tribulations that nobody else has had to endure, it affects you because you understand the inherent unfairness in so many things that transpire towards us in our community. But I figured out a way to turn that around. Because see, when you don't get caught up in emotion, and I know that's kind of impossible to believe coming from me watching me on TV, but it's true. When you don't get caught up in emotion, then all of a sudden, you become more knowledgeable because you start hearing things better. And you start seeing things, and you start crystallizing in your mind what deserves venom and hostility and what requires simply understanding somebody that is different from ourselves. And I send that message because that's a message white folks in here and everywhere else, along with the Spanish folks and everybody else, needs to learn. A lot of times people look at me and they say, he's a race bait. I don't believe that you could be further from the truth than that. I don't bring up race to denigrate anybody. I bring up race to highlight the differences between us and others. So it can provoke dialogue and discussion. And we can understand the differences that exist within us. And understand that's not a reason to hate and denigrate and fight and bicker and be belligerent and cantankerous with one another. You understand somebody, even if they're wrong, even if you don't believe in what they're saying, if they're honest enough to respect you enough to tell you how they truly feel from their heart based on their culture, their environment, where they're from, then we owe it to them and to ourselves to listen. and we can ask the same in return for them, then they will listen. And then even if we disagree, we're not being disagreeable. We just disagree. But we can respect each other with an understanding of one another and go on our way. Why is that so important? Because, ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about corporate America, I got news for you. We all better learn to get along, because we ain't going anywhere. Not in this day and age. You're going to work from somebody from a different ethnic group, a different culture, a different environment, whether it's affluent or poor. You understand? You're going to have homosexuals that you're working with when you're straight. Hell, you might have somebody transgender, bisexual, I don't know. All I know is you're going to have to deal with all of these challenges, because corporate America and America as a society is demanding that you do just that. And if you are somebody who refuses to do so, and you prefer to do otherwise, and it's reminiscent of a time that our nation as a whole prides itself on ballyhooing that we moved beyond, you're going to be stuck in the back of the line. You're going to get lost. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be the people that are looked upon and saying, this is somebody we need to get rid of. We need to push them to the back. You don't want to be that person. You are receiving an education for a reason. That piece of paper that you walk out of here with someday that says you have a degree is going to say what? You're trainable. You can read, you can write, you can comprehend. Which means the things that have been going on in this world, you're not going to be given the leisure of assuming that you just didn't know. You didn't know any better, you didn't comprehend, you didn't understand. What a college education is really training you for is the real world that awaits in terms of understanding, commingling with one another, socializing with one another, learning to adjust to people different from yourself. But the art, the skill that comes with it, oh no, that's something that you're going to have to get once you graduate. You don't leave college with the requisite skills to succeed in corporate America. You develop it once you arrive in corporate America, because somebody deemed you worthy to be taught. And if you are an individual or individuals that prove themselves to be unworthy, then you're going to be left behind. It's just that simple. So we have to recognize it. We have to appreciate it. We have to understand it. And particularly and especially if you are black, you have to look at the numbers and pay attention. The numbers are not on our side. But if you look at our history, one of the things that we have always done is overcome. This is the latest thing that we have to overcome. And if we've done it before in history, considering the iniquities that we were faced against, what we had to endure, there is no reason on God's green earth that our ancestors and forefathers and what they had to endure and what they ended up enduring and overcoming, there's no reason on this earth why we can't do it now. And to those outside of the African American community, if tolerance and acceptance and embracing of people different than themselves is something that your forefathers and ancestors did before, you can damn sure do it now. Y'all are all in this together. Y'all are the future. You have to embrace that challenge. Or you need to step aside and let somebody else do it. Thank you for your time. Questions? I was looking for this water the whole time. It's right here.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. All right. My first question is, can you name an African American who has had a tremendous impact on you?
Believe it or not, He's passed away now. It was the great Ralph Wiley. He was a sports writer, an historian in his own right. Of course, the Jim Browns, the Muhammad Alis, the Dr. Harry Edwards, who I interviewed today for my Black History Month special, they've had a profound impact on me. But Ralph Wiley was a warrior. He was a soldier. He was a renegade in his own right, from a literal perspective, from a literary perspective. And I'd always pride myself in being that way. But I would also tell you this. Over the past few years, two individuals have had more and more of a profound impact on me as well. Steve Harvey, who's a personal friend. He's been a big-time supporter of mine. And Denzel Washington, who's also a friend. Because, Denzel, ladies. Denzel, when I had my issues with ESPN contractually and I ended up leaving, and then before I came back, Denzel pulled me to the side because I had seen him on an episode with Oprah. And Denzel pulled me to the side and we were talking about some of the things that I went through, and he said to me, "You do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do." Everybody doesn't walk out the door getting to do what they want to do. Show me somebody in history who has. He said, it doesn't work that way. And it was something simple, but very, very profound. Because every time he sees me, he gives me a wink, and I know what the wink means. It's reminding me to stay the course. Do what you have to do until you do what you want to do. This is a guy that is one of the most sensational actors in American history, if not the world. And he used to be on soap operas, and he had small roles. He had supporting cast roles. Now he's a superstar. And guess what? He also directs and produces now too. He always wanted to direct and produce, but he had to do what he had to do for years so he could do what he wants to do now. And that just stayed with me, and it always will.
Thank you. What is one characteristic you believe every leader should possess?
Leaders are not lazy. True leaders are not lazy. I'm talking to a lady. What y'all want me to do? True leaders are not lazy. But I think the characteristic that great leaders have is that they know when they don't need to lead. Leaders don't have to lead every second. There are those that you allocate responsibility to. And you have to, as a leader who place them in positions of trust, occasionally there are subordinates. You have to trust their leadership. One of the great leaders in in the world of sports media that you may never have known is a gentleman by the name of George Bodenheimer. He's the former president of ESPN. Stepped aside, moved upstairs, inching towards retirement now. He started ESPN pretty much. He was the president for about 25 years. Whatever he is as a leader, he's even better as a man. He's one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. His name is George Bodenheimer. What a wonderful guy he is. I truly mean that. And I remember when I was gone, and he sat there, he called me 48 hours after I was gone on a Saturday morning, because I found out I wasn't coming back on a Thursday. He called me on a Saturday morning. He's sorry to see me go. And he says to me, not sure I agree with this decision. I happen to be very fond of you and your work. He said, but no leader worth his salt strips people who he allocates responsibility to of their responsibility. You have to trust that the decision they believe they're making is the right one, all you can do is voice your concern. But then he told me he didn't believe the chapter for me and ESPN was closed. And sure enough, he was right. But I never forgot that, because it is what enabled me to shred myself of any bitterness or any feelings of unfairness that I had had at that particular moment in time. I don't own ESPN. The bosses at ESPN have a right to choose whoever they want to work for them, regardless of what I feel about their decision. My contract was up. They didn't want to give me a new one. And as devastating of a blow as that was to my ego, to my psyche, to my confidence, etc., I grew up that morning, 48 hours later, because of his words. Because if I were a boss and somebody makes a decision that I don't like about an employee I may like, then I have to ask myself, does my fondness for that employee supersedes the judgment that I had to empower the supervisor who ultimately elected to let him go? That can't happen. And I call myself a leader, because the people I assign to lead, I'm not allowing to lead. So I'm compromising my own self, because I'm not following the advice of the people I put in place. Leaders know when to step back and defer to those they've placed in leadership positions. The great leaders all have that ability. The questionable ones don't.
Thank you for that answer. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years?
I have no idea. In all honesty, I truly don't, because this room can't fit the level of ambition that I have inside my soul. I wanted to be an NBA analyst. I wanted to be an NBA columnist. I wanted to be a general sports columnist. If you look at my career, I've been promoted over 13 times in my career. I'm a guy that aspired to replace Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes. I'm a guy who aspires to host SportsCenter, not just be a contributor. I'm a guy that looks at First Take and love working with Skip every day, because I might joke around about him, but he is my friend. And a lot of people don't understand the dynamic that exists within my friendship with Skip Bayless and why we're so tight. But at the same time, I love politics. I'd love to interview the president. I'd love to question him about some of the decisions that he's made. I'd love to sit there before congressmen and senators and do the same. I love to be, the caliber of a Bill O'Reilly. And then even after that, I'd want to be an author. It's time I write my own book. And then if I did that, that wouldn't be enough. I'm real greedy. I'm hungry. I know I'm slim. But I'm as tenacious as they come. And I'm fixated on being recognized as one of the very best at what I do. People come at me all the time, they insult me, and I've been called everything, even today. I'm an affirmative action hire. I'm lucky to have my job. Stuff like that stuff doesn't faze me. It's a badge of honor. Because when you're nothing and you're nobody, nobody's talking about you. They talk about you because you are somebody. And I know this. And so for me, the more they talk, the merrier. All I ask is that they remember that my name is spelled with a PH, not a V. I don't worry about it. I mean, for better or for worse, I am the real deal. I'm coming for it. That's what I mean by when I say that. Death will stop me. Nothing else.
Earlier this week, we had set up an email account for everyone that's in the audience here to ask a question. So this question is actually from Matthew. The question is, can you please talk about a pivotal or life-changing moment in your life that helped you get to where you are today?
I was in the 3rd grade. True story. True story, no exaggeration. I'm in the 3rd grade, and I got left back because I had a 1st grade reading level. All the dudes in the neighborhood, I'm 46 years old. This is almost 40 years ago. They were laughing at me. I was very humiliated. I was very embarrassed. I saw the disappointing look, rather, on my father's face. Just nothing but shame reeked his face. And it hurt deeply. I go to summer school. I pass the classes in summer school. I get promoted back to my right grade in September as if I had never gotten left back. So I go to the 4th grade. And I go September through June. And I complete 4th grade. I take that exam, and I still got a 1st grade reading level. I got left back again. And this time, there was no summer school. You're going to get left back for the entire year. And those same dudes, again. And the laughter, again, it's almost 40 years ago. I remember everybody. Donald Miller, Marshall Lewis, Croc, Tim Jackson, everybody. Everybody that was there, I remember them. And I saw my father mumble under his breath, because I went to the back porch just the same way I was the year before. And I went to the back porch and I sat there and I bowed my head and I was crying. And I looked up at him and I saw him mumble under his breath, "Idiot." And that day, I made the commitment that no one would ever laugh at me again. You'll laugh with me, but you will hate me worse than life itself before you are ever in a position to laugh at my lack of intellect ever again. My mother, the greatest woman on earth to me, was like, "You need to study." My sister, who's a valedictorian, along with my neighbor, who was my best friend's big brother, he was also a valedictorian. They literally, his name was Tipper, they literally taught me how to read. And from that day forward, to this day, like meaning literally today as I was reading the Wall Street Journal, flying in here, if there is a word that I don't comprehend, I will stop what I'm doing. I will pull out my dictionary and my thesaurus, and I will read the definition of the word, and I will master its usage before I read forward. No one's laughing at me anymore. Some of them hate me now because the way I spit out what I spit out, the words, its usage, my intellect, they can say what they want. It's unquestionable. You can put me in a room with a senator, the president, a Fortune 500 company, or down the block on the street. It doesn't matter. I can conduct an intelligent conversation with anybody on this planet Earth. And it stems from that experience, which to this day is the most humiliating experience I ever went through in my life.
Thank you. This is the last question I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to open up to the audience. This one is from Bobby Abrams. The question is, how do you feel sports journalism has changed in terms of print journalism versus internet journalism?
Well, first of all, I don't think print journalism is dead, but there's no denying that the newspaper industry is dying. The printed newspaper that's at your doorstep with the delivery dude throwing it at your doorstep, those days are coming to an end. Because you don't have to wait for the printer to print it and a truck to bring it to your house. All you need is a computer. And you can call that bad boy up hours earlier. So the print word is not dead, it's far from it. But the newspaper industry is dying a slow death. And I would not advise anybody to go to college to study so you can get a job in newspapers. Now, I would advise that you can get the job for a newspaper if it was online, but I'm talking about if your love affair is with the printed word at your doorstep. No. People are looking at it on their laptop computer. The advent of the digital age has arrived. It is here to stay, and the newspapers itself are rapidly becoming outdated, not to mention the fact that the money is not in it because of it. Because there's such a paucity of newspapers, there's not a significant amount of money. And ladies and gentlemen, I know that it's not popular to say, but it is about getting paid. Let's just call it what it is. You can sit there all you want to and get the education that you want and do whatever it is that you want to do, but in the end, if you can't pay your bills, you're preoccupied from being the best that you can be and doing the best job that you can because you are wondering how you're going to pay these bills. It affects everything. It affects your mind. It affects your level of stress. It affects your tranquility, your level of peace. It affects your relationship. Don't no woman in here want to be with a broke dude. We know this. They can say what they want to say. Now, there's one thing when, you fall on hard times. But good luck to the dude that thinks he can come to a woman's doorstep with hard times. Good luck with that. It ain't flowing that way. Okay? And so, it's changed. And social media has really, really changed it. Because see, everybody think they know. And even there are occasions when you actually might know something more than the people who are assigned to know it professionally. But that's because when you're doing a job, you're distracted. There's a few times when people will know something about something that went on in the NBA better than me. But do you know why that was? Because ESPN had me doing 10 other jobs. And I didn't have to check into that. While they were sitting at home, chilling on their computer, looking at this stuff. So we understand it. And it comes with the territory, but it's just about knowing the world has changed. Social media has changed everything. Because more than anything, it's provoked reaction. There are people on Twitter doing some stupid nonsense and getting themselves in a world of trouble because they did what my man Herm Edwards told them not to do. Don't press send. But they did it anyway. And it's problematic for them. So it has changed. There's no doubt about it, but there's still plenty of room for the written word. It's just that it will be digital as opposed to with newspapers. And as a result of that, you can't just know how to write. You've got to be digitally enhanced to some degree. You got to be comfortable with the computer. You got to be comfortable with all the things that come with computer usage. You've got to be adept at the social media world. You've got to know this kind of stuff. Otherwise, you're going to be lost in the shuffle.
Thank you so much. We're going to actually open this up to the audience. We asked for the first 10 people to line up on this side.
Okay.
In front of this mic to ask Stephen A. question.
I'm going to stand up.
Yes,
okay.
No problem. Don't be shy. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Please say your name before you ask the question.
Sure. My name is Christopher Graff. My question for you is this. Do you believe there are any athletes in recent times that will be as renowned as, say, someone like Jackie Robinson in Black history?
I'm sorry?
Do you believe that there are any athletes in recent times that will one day be as renowned as, say, an athlete like Jackie Robinson who did so much?
That will be similar to that? I find that very hard to believe in this day and age. I'm not going to go as far as to say athletes have sold out. But I will say that the world has changed. Madison Avenue has knocked on the doorstep. And the mission needs to be illuminated and crystallized a bit more. Back in the day, the Jim Browns, the Muhammad Alis, the Bill Russells, the Lou Alcindors, and Kurt Floods and others were fighting for civil and equal rights and opportunity. That's what they wanted, and that's what they were not getting. The problem now is that's exactly what the athletes are getting, but not all of them. And so as a result of it, the agenda is to put yourself in the public eye as much as you possibly can so you can brand yourself. And as a result, find a way to monetize that. That's why Twitter is so important to these guys. These guys have no desire to talk to y'all. What happens is that if you build 17 million followers like a LeBron, Madison Avenue comes calling you because you can assist in marketing their products. You have a voice. That's what that's about. The issue at hand is what Dr. Harry Edwards, noted sociologist and professor emeritus at Cal Berkeley, pointed out to me this morning. The Jim Browns of the world are who paved the way for the LeBron James and Kobe Bryants of the world. So what you have is a situation where the LeBron James and the Kobe Bryants of the world and others are doing a magnificent job of branding themselves and showing the marketability of the African American athlete and what they can do on Madison Avenue. Now what needs to be figured out is how they continue to do that while also giving a voice to the voiceless. That hasn't been figured out yet because they haven't been taught that. And the old school cats are upset at them because they haven't learned it. So there's animosity and friction in-house. And it hasn't been resolved yet. Somehow, we've got to figure that out. And to be quite honest with you, if I'm being real about it, I'm one of the people that has to assist in that mission. Because I am who I am. And I have to be conscientious, even though I know that I am. I have to continue to be conscientious enough, even more so, to make sure that I take it upon myself to embrace that challenge of making sure that old school and new school come together and learn to appreciate where both are coming from. So we're all in this together and we're not bickering. Because back with the days of Jackie Robinson, Kurt Flood, Muhammad Ali, for the most part, we were all in it together. Now we're fractured. And if it's working for somebody, it's damn sure not the black community. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that being said, we all need to stop using it, and here's why. At some point in time, the word consistency and fear must enter our vernacular. If we can look at white America and anybody outside of the black community and say that that word is offensive, the fact of the matter is we come across as flaming hypocrites when we freely and overtly use it amongst ourselves. It's counterproductive. And more importantly, it's giving a license to people outside of our community to think that it's fair game because we're doing it to ourselves. Evidently, it's not that offensive to them. They use it all the time. But however saying that, let me say a message to my Caucasian brothers and sisters up in the house. I'm going to repeat what I said. None of us have any business using. None of us. Myself included. When I was away off the air with my boys hanging out, sure I've used that word in the past. I was wrong. You live and you learn. Something you've been doing all your life. Also, it's hard to stop. But then again, I remind myself that I also cuss a lot. But I don't cuss on the air. And I'm 46 years of age. My mother has never heard me curse. Except one time, and I didn't know she was dead. So if I could be cognizant and mindful enough to stop in front of my mom, I can be cognizant enough to stop anywhere else. So I understand that. But back to my Caucasian brothers and sisters. Having said all that, I want to advise y'all strongly. You know what the N-word is and what it means to black people, and you know why. Don't you think for 1 second that it's all right for me to say that to a brother or a sister knowing our history. And if you doubt what I'm saying is true, I challenge you to go to any inner city community in America and do it. You that up? Don't just say it when you're around your peeps. Don't just say it when you're in a comfortable confines of an institution of higher learning. No. Go to the streets. Go ahead and spew the N-word. You that bold. Because see, if you're not bold enough to do it then that means you're cognizant of the fact that it's wrong. And if you're cognizant of the fact that it's wrong there, why don't you be cognizant of the fact that it's wrong anywhere else? You don't get to have it both ways. That's what I'm saying. Because see, as wrong as it is, and it is wrong, and it is something that we have to stop doing, the fact of the matter is, I can go anywhere, off television, and say it. Nobody's gonna bother me. Y'all know better. So don't do it. We shouldn't do it either. But I'm just saying that, because I don't want anybody to get themselves in trouble by thinking they can just walk into the community and just say it. Trust me, you can't. It's taking different. It's all I'm saying. All right. Yes, sir.
Hi, Stephen. My name is Jonathan.
How are you, John?
Good. I'm not going to ask you about Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown.
So, about a year ago, maybe, it was on the set of First Take, and the subject of RG3, I was talking about RG3, and one of the guests on the show, maybe his name was Rob, he's also a black reporter, he called into question RG3's blackness. And
Rob Parker.
Rob Parker, right. And you immediately said, I'm not uncomfortable where that just went. So my question is, how prevalent do you think that attitude in the black community in sports, and really even beyond that, is, and how big of an issue, you know, what's the impact of that, and how prevalent?
First of all, Rob Parker is a dear friend of mine. We are, no, this is not Saturday Night Live. He is. We're very tight. We're incredibly tight. And we always will be. That was not his brightest moment. I was very, very disappointed in what he had to say, because to me he had no business going there. I wish that he was still in this business, still working at ESPN, because I think we make mistakes, and you know, America's the land of second chances, and you just got to figure out a way to overcome those things. And I think you have a lot of people out there trying to get folks fired, and I think that they were successful in doing that to Rob, and that's unfortunate. But it was a very ill-advised thing for him to say. Having said all that, I also think he was wrong in this respect. First of all, I've never heard RG3 called that. That was number one. Secondly, we graduated in our society in terms of interracial relationships. We don't sweat that as much as we used to. And by the way, I got news for white America. Black men usually don't have problems. what a brother's doing. If it's with somebody of a different ethnicity, it's usually black women that have a problem with that. Black women are the ones that usually have a problem with a black man with somebody from a different race, at least in the past. And I'm going to say this, I don't blame black women for that. When you consider what we as a race of people have had to overcome to get to where we are, and you are a successful black man, and you feel the need to have someone other than a black woman on your arm, or having your last name, I don't have a problem with a brother that elects to do so, but I'm also not stupid enough to believe that a black woman shouldn't, because in their eyes it's an indictment against them. It's about acceptance, it's about love, it's about devotion. This black woman stands by your side through thick and thin, loves the ground that you walk on, stands beside you, loves you, supports you, takes care of you. If you left her for somebody else black, then to her that's about the woman. But if you leave her for somebody outside of her race, then that's about her. And that's a devastating blow. And it's a lot to take. So again, even though I understand, and I don't have a problem with a dude, whoever he's with, it's none of my business. I'm not oblivious to the fact that a black woman has a right to feel otherwise. Because if you are a successful black man, I don't know too many black women who don't believe you should be with them. Because they were the ones, in their eyes, who loved you and raised you and brought you to this level where you were somebody deemed desirable to anybody. They should reap the benefits of it. That's how they think. I can't fault them for that. I have 4 older sisters. I have 8 nieces. I understand that. I truly do. Can I answer your question? Sure. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Stephen A, for a wonderful, wonderful evening. Can we give a round of applause?